Of all the 2021 F1 team lineups, there are a few that really stand out to me. McLaren, with Ricciardo having switched teams again, AlphaTauri with Tsunoda being a very promising young talent, and Ferrari. I think that last one will be the most exciting one, with Carlos Sainz lining up alongside Charles Leclerc, and in this video I will tell why I think the Ferrari lineup will be the most compelling one. After Vettel was dropped last year, it was announced pretty quickly Carlos Sainz would join the team as their second driver next to Charles Leclerc, who has a contract until the end of 2024. This is the longest contract Ferrari has ever given to an F1 driver, and this obviously shows how confident the team is in Charles, and that the Monegasque really is the driver the Italians will build on the coming years. Carlos, however, has a contract for 2 years, but is keen to impress the team bosses to receive a longer contract. There are a lot of Ferrari Driver Academy juniors who are fired up to impress in the coming years to deserve that Ferrari seat. Mick Schumacher in the Haas will be driving his balls off to be promoted to Ferrari to step into the real legacy of his father. Robert Schwartzman, if he'll reach F1, will also try to impress the Ferrari bosses, and this all combined means Carlos Sainz has to perform these 2 years. So now let's have a closer look at Carlos himself. Carlos Sainz has been driving in Formula 1 since 2015, after performing pretty good in the junior categories, winning Formula Renault 3.5 and 2 other different Formula Renault 2.0 championships. When he came into F1, he was driving alongside the debatably most difficult driver to be a teammate of, Max Verstappen, and over the season in the races both drivers finished, Carlos finished higher 5 times and Max outdrove Carlos 5 times over the season as well. The only big difference was that Max had higher highs, as he finished in P4 twice in the Hungary and the USA. 2016 started off decent for Carlos, and after Verstappen was promoted to Red Bull, Sainz outperformed Kvyat over the season, an event which occurred in 2017 as well, but after the Japanese Grand Prix, Carlos switched to Renault to replace Jolyon Palmer, and he stayed there in 2018 as well to drive alongside Nico Hülkenberg, but he was beaten by Nico in both 2017 and 2018. This meant he would have to move to another team as he was replaced by Daniel Ricciardo, and he moved to McLaren alongside Lando Norris. The two had a lot of fun, and Carlos achieved 2 podia in these 2 years. Carlos scored more points than his younger teammate in both years, and now he has moved to Ferrari to drive alongside Charles Leclerc, who debuted in F1 in 2018 after winning Formula 2 and GP3 in dominant style. He impressed his teammate Max Ericsson so much that the Swede decided to look at it from another POV in Italy. Okay, that wasn't funny. Anyways, Charles drove for Scuderia Ferrari in 2019 and 2020 and controversially took 2 wins and 7 poles with an OP Ferrari engine in 2019, but he only took 2 podiums in 2020. 2021 looks to be more promising for the Scuderia, and I think both Charles and Carlos should get some podiums this year. But why would the battle between the two be fiery then, you may ask? Well, as said, Charles has got a contract until 2024, and so he is the obvious number 1 driver. Carlos, however, is a very talented driver who has outperformed a lot of his teammates over the years. As we have seen in Portugal and Monza in particular last year, Carlos is capable of driving at the front of the pack and just being consistent up there. According to Jensen Button, Sainz Jr. is basically an engineer. He simply doesn't let his emotions take over when it comes to getting the performance out of the car, and this is very positive as it really helps Carlos and Ferrari. Carlos is very precise in giving feedback to the team and knows what has to be changed to get the maximum performance out of every car on every track. Sainz is not a very consistent qualifier, but when he has a good quali, he really is at the absolute front of the pack. He qualified in P3 in Austria and Italy last year and P4 multiple times as well, but he qualified low in Turkey and Great Britain, and overall on average he was outqualified by Norris. I think all these factors combined means Carlos will not be accepting that number 2 role, and he will fight for his place in the Maranello team. It will be very difficult for Sainz to break this established order, but he will not want to accept this. He will have to drive for the team though, so he will have to accept team orders if there will be any. Let's hope not. And Sainz will really feel the pressure from the academy as well, as there are a lot of very talented upcoming drivers who I've named before. Now that I've explained the case of Sainz, let's have a look at Leclerc's situation. Charles is the obvious number 1, and so he will have to keep performing to prove this. Last year Leclerc had a decent year, although the car was a shitbox. He achieved 2 podiums and was in P2 in Turkey before making this little braking mistake which cost him the podium. He had a good relationship with Sebastian Vettel, as Seb was the clear, very experienced
number 2 driver.
Charles has said he learned a lot from Seb, and Sebastian has complimented Leclerc on being a very talented and quick kid. But as Seb left and Ferrari now have their youngest driver lineup in a long time, it will be a whole different division of roles. And I think it will be more like a 1.5 kind of relationship, a bit like Ricciardo Verstappen in 2017, with obviously Leclerc being in the Ricciardo role. This will result in the two drivers being very close and the gap varying from race to race. At the first race in Bahrain this year, Charles qualified in P4, 4 places ahead of Sainz, although the two were very closely matched as we saw in Q2, when Sainz was 1,000th of a second quicker than Leclerc to top the timing sheet. In the race, the two drivers were close together as well, although on the first lap Leclerc clearly had the advantage battling with Bottas, and he was in P3 for some laps, whereas Sainz dropped some places in the first laps. Eventually Carlos finished 8th and Leclerc finished in P6, but they didn't battle like in Bahrain last year, when they had this battle in the first sector. Although they didn't have that kind of battle in the race, I'm sure we'll see these kind of battles throughout the year. And I predict that at one of these occasions they're battling, one or two of them will get some damage on their car. Matteo Binotto will not be happy about that, and there will be a lot of tension in the team, and this will lead to the two drivers not really liking each other, like Rosberg and Hamilton in the turbo hybrid era. With this, I unfortunately think Sainz will be dropped at the end of his 2-year contract. So in conclusion, I think the Ferrari teammate battle will be the closest one in the entire field, and there will be a collision or two. But what do you think? Will there be any tension between the two, or will they just be good mates over the years and there being a relationship more like Verstappen and Ricciardo in 17 and 18? Or will Sainz just be the clear number 2 driver and just accept that role? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe as well. I really hope to see you later. Bye bye!